Welcome to Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. The story begins with an unnamed narrator setting the scene. A group of men of all walks of life, including the narrator, are seen sitting aboard a riverboat upon the Thames River in England. They are telling stories to pass the time when the spotlight turns onto Marlowe. His story is of his journey into the Belgian Congo in Africa, his journey into the heart of darkness. Marlowe's journey begins when he takes a job as a steamboat captain for a Belgian trading company. While on his brief visit to Brussels, he likens the city to a white sepulchre. A sepulchre is similar to a burial chamber. He is sent to the Congo with the goal of replacing another steamboat captain who was killed by the natives. The seemingly docile predecessor was killed after he lashed out on a native village chief. Marlowe's journey into the Congo is dark and haunting. He witnesses many things that concern him, such as ships bombing seemingly uninhabited strips of coast. During his time in the Congo, he pushes deeper and deeper into the heart of Africa. He visits a series of company stations, with each visit being more disturbing.
His first major stop is the company's outer station. When he finally arrives, he is met with death and decay. Old machinery and trash is strewn about. Chain gangs of native men are seen suffering all around. Marlowe is horrified when he stumbles upon laborers left to die in the summer's heat. But as he is there for company business, he has to move on. While there, Marlowe is instructed to tell the prodigal ivory hunter, Mr. Kurtz of the inner station, that conditions at the outer station are satisfactory despite its obvious decay. He leaves on foot some days later, headed for the central station.
When he comes upon the central station, he is met with the news that the steamboat they had for him there has sunk. Marlowe suspects it was sunk on purpose, but the motive is unknown. It ultimately takes Marlowe 3 months to restore his ship. In the time he spent waiting, he hears a lot about Mr. Kurtz from his fellow company workers. They look up to him as if he is a god. He apparently brings in more ivory than all of the other agents combined. Marlowe also notes the corruption of his fellow employees as they take advantage of the natives and conspire to take more power for themselves. When his steamboat is restored, Marlowe sets out for Mr. Kurtz's station, the inner station. Before he leaves, reports of Kurtz's failing health reach the inner station and causes concern.
At the inner station, Marlowe is greeted by the most horrifying conditions yet. As he approaches the land, Marlowe realizes that the brown knobs he saw on the fence in the distance are not simply decorative. They were in fact human heads placed there by Kurtz. The most disturbing part about it, however, was the fact that they weren't meant as a warning. The heads faced inwards toward Kurtz's house. He must have enjoyed being able to look at his accomplishments every day. When Marlowe finally meets Kurtz, there is not much left of him. Both his physical and mental health decayed during his time at the inner station. He is incoherent and irrational. Marlowe discovers that Kurtz came to power by exploiting natives. He has a group of natives fully under his control that do his bidding and dirty work. They pillage other villages and steal ivory for Kurtz, killing anyone who gets in their way. He went as far as to have them attack Marlowe's steamboat when it arrived, in an attempt to make the crew assume Kurtz was dead and turn back. Even though he was deathly ill, Kurtz could not live behind his power and fortune. Out of desperation, he makes a second attempt to get away from the crew by jumping off the steamboat. On their way back to Europe, Kurtz's condition grows even weaker and he starts preparing for his imminent death. He gives a paper that he wrote to Marlowe. It was written at the request of the International Society for the Suppression of Savage Customs and details how to control and exploit natives as he did. It closes with the line, "Exterminate all brutes." Kurtz dies shortly after, with his last words being, the horror. Perhaps he finally became aware of the atrocities that he committed, or maybe he could not deal with his fortune and power being taken away. Back in Europe, Marlowe is faced with the decision. He can either do as Kurtz wanted him to and spread his brutal philosophy, or he could pretend nothing ever happened and move on with his life. His story ends with his visit to Kurtz's fiancée. He lies and tells her that Kurtz's final word was her name. He couldn't have possibly told her otherwise, because the truth was just too dark. In the process of recounting his story to his shipmates on the Thames, Marlowe slowly begins to realize the severity of the inhumane treatment of Africans by Europeans. The book ends peacefully but darkly. Marlowe's silence signifies the end of Kurtz's story and influence. However, it is not the end of the darkness. The overcast sky on the Thames signifies that the darkness of imperialism still prevails.